A very warm welcome to Study IQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 29th July 2020. I would like to start today's discussion with this interesting quote: winning is habit. Unfortunately, so is losing. Habit. A thing that you do on regular basis that becomes your habit. For example, when you wake up every morning, when you step out of your bed, if you can do your bed, then you are creating a winning habit. What you are doing is you are doing, you are, making your bed, it's not one of the most fancy or interesting job in the world. But if you can do something that you don't like to do, but still you do that thing, that means you are sending the signal to your mind that you can do anything, right? If you think, means once you set a target, then you can do it. Doesn't matter how boring that job is, you will finish that job. So what you are doing here, you are creating a winning habit. So throughout your day, if you can create more and more winning habits, then you will see, it's not like you will see all of a sudden in a week's time you will become the richest person in the world. No, but it will take you there. I'm not saying it's about money, but it's about it's about your personal relationship as well. It will help you with your professional relationship because you have created winning habits throughout your day. So I want you guys to not just think about it but also execute. uh, Everyone is different, so see where you can improve, where you can inculcate winning habit, and you will see a difference. With this, dear friends, the Study IQ team has designed a smart course. Now this smart course is designed by some of the best faculties of our country, and this smart course covers your UPSC IAS exams. It covers your pre as well as mains examination. And to find out more about it, all you have to do is download our mobile application. A good news is that till 31st July, EMI offer is also running. With this, dear friends, if you want to download the PDF of today's lecture, you will get it from my Telegram channel. You can follow me on Facebook as well. Now, today we are going to start our discussion with this article. It's about RIC, a triangle that is still important. So we are going to talk about the importance of RIC, why it is important. We are going to go through the history as well, how things developed and other things associated with it. So basically, RIC stands for Russia, India, and China. On 23rd June 2020, there was this virtual meeting of foreign ministers of RIC. And we know it very well that on one side LAC issue was going on the other side our foreign minister was interacting with foreign ministers of Russia and China. It's very interesting as well as very ironical as well that the Chinese minister said that he called for, or China said that China opposes bullying practices, rejecting power politics and supporting the rule of law in international relations. Now this is very surprising that China is talking about rule of law in international relations. We know what China did with UNCLOS. We know what China did with the Nine Dash Line. And the way it is behaving with Bhutan, the way it is behaving with our country and other countries as well. So it's very, it's funny, to be honest, that what you are saying and what you are doing is totally different. Sergei Lavrov, and it's also a matter of concern as well. Okay, Sergei Lavrov, he is foreign minister of Russia. He said that Russia criticizes unilateral coercive measures to settle scores with geopolitical rivals and topple regimes. And the most interesting is from our country, as Jaishankar said that for a durable world order, if we want to see a world in much more better shape, then it is very important that major powers they respect international rules and regulations and law, and they should have this ability to recognize the legitimate interest of their partners. So China should be sensitive enough. China should be, capable enough to recognize legitimate interest of India. Okay. Now, let's talk about a little bit about the history of RIC. When it all started at that point of time, relationship between these three countries. Let me draw a triangle here. So you have India. Let's say I stands for India, C for China, and R for Russia. So this RIC, all these three countries, their relationship with each other were upswing. They were going in a good right direction. Russia and China relationship were doing great, or they were heading in right direction. Same applies for India, China, and Russia, India. Russia-India strategic partnership is quite old. Russia has been a very important defense partner for our country, and in terms of other things as well. We have a very cordial relationship with each other. As far as China is concerned, we don't have cordial relationship, but relationship are quite professional. We don't have that warmth for each other, but we get along with each other very well. It's okay. I'm not saying we will say we won't see hugs and that deep what we say warmth when leaders of these two nations, when they meet with each other. But you will see a professionalism. There is. I hope you got the message, isn't it? So multi-sectoral surge in India-China relation was also visible. I'm talking about early 2000. And these three countries, they were for this transition of the world from unipolar to a multipolar world order. After this Cold War, there was just one victorious nation, and that was USA. So the whole world became unipolar world, and other democratic countries and other countries were betting for multipolar world order. So these three countries were betting for the same thing. And these three countries, they started this new, what is the right word? A new way of doing things, right? It was non-Western rather than anti-Western. So these three countries were not against, this RIC was not against Western world, but it was non-Western. It had its own character. It had its own way of doing things. Unfortunately, we don't see that warmth in this latest 23rd June 2020's virtual meeting. Anyway, at the same time, I'm talking about starting with not exactly 2000, but after 2005 and a bit later on, you will find that, I believe you know the history of India and USA's relationship after this Pokhran nuclear test, right? Sanctions were applied on us, and foreign ministers of both nations, they had so many rounds of discussion saying that we explained our situation, that we have two neighbors. On one side, we have China. On the other side, we have Pakistan, and they have this, nuclear weapons. So we cannot, we cannot let them have nuclear weapons. It means we won't survive in this hostile neighborhood. So we need to have nuclear weapons. That's what we said. And so basically there were long negotiations between India and USA. And finally, back in 2008, we had this outstanding landmark civil nuclear deal. Trade and investment relationship were going in right direction, and so were defense relationship. Defense relationship was important for India, or is important for India, because back then India was totally dependent on Russia. So India was looking for diversifying these military acquisitions from various different countries. Now USA was also aware about this rise of dragon or China, and USA already it has good partners in Asia like Japan, South Korea, etc. So it was looking for one more democratic partner, and that is India. During this phase, what China did is quite shocking. China was talking about cooperation and other things, but all of a sudden China went ahead with this CPEC. As you know that this BRI project passes from our portion, right? That is this portion here. So this was a clear, you can say, indication that we are going to misbehave with you. That's what China did with this CPEC. Then it started influencing India's neighbors, and it expanded its military and economic presence in the Indian Ocean. Then back in 2014, 6 years ago, relationship between USA and Russia, they were at its they touched its lowest peak after this Cold War, after this Russia annexed this portion called Crimea. Crimea was part of Ukraine, but in 2014, Russia annexed this portion from Ukraine. So the whole Western world was under one umbrella of USA, and they started doing everything to isolate Russia. But this isolate Russia campaign pushed Russia closer to China. Anyway, our relationship with Russia is quite good. And the reason why we need Russia, the reason why we need China is because, or we can, when I say need China, I don't mean to say that we are totally dependent on them. But the thing is, see, we are part of RIC, we are part of SCO. SCO is important for India because there are other Central Asian nations who are part of this SCO. A few days ago, we were talking about this international north-south trade corridor connecting Mumbai with Moscow. For that, the route passes through Iran, Afghanistan, then you have the Central Asian nations, so they are important for us. This SCO has this two division, duopoly. Russia handles political and security issues, and China looks after economic support. So we have to have bilateral as well as multilateral discussions with China at various different platforms about issues and things that are going on between us. As far as Indo-Pacific is concerned, for India, it is important from economic as well as security point of view. This is Indian Ocean, this is Pacific Ocean. So for China sees this Indo-Pacific as, this whole game of USA and USA-led policy of containing China. So China is a bit skeptical about it. When it comes to Russia, I don't know why, but Russia is also feeling that USA is using India and Japan to control Russia in this part of the world. But that's not right. India and Russia, good relationship with each other. But the most important thing that I want to say, the closing remark is that national security cannot be fully outsourced. I would like to give you example of British India. When they came here, right, this British colonial or this East India Company, they started providing security. They offered that we will look after your security, and if you have any war or anything, then we will look after it. You can just focus on your social and economic development. And then what happened? They took over. The same way, if you allow these big nations, USA, if you allow USA to create a military, I'm not saying that we should not have any relationship with USA or defense capabilities and exercise on things with USA. Defense exchange, not capabilities, defense exchange and military exercise with USA. They are very important. But we have to be very careful that shaking hands, that's a different thing, and leaning on shoulder, that's a different thing, isn't it? So when it comes to national security, we cannot fully outsource it. We have to stand on our own feet. With this, dear friends, please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Second topic is digging deeper. When it comes to GST collection, of course, you know that things are going to be down because transactions in April were nearly none, isn't it? If you see cars and other things, then there were no transactions at all. Because from last week of March, then full month of April, nearly full month of May, we saw this lockdown. So this 2.5 month lockdown has destroyed I'm not saying destroyed, but it has created its negative impact on our economy, that we know for sure. Now, because of this COVID-19, before COVID-19, economy was not doing that great. Then we have this lockdown, COVID-19, so we have to spend more money. So at present, our situation is that outgoing money or your expenses have gone up, incoming is down, right? So this is a very severe situation or severe thing for our pocket. When I say our, I'm talking about government's pocket. And when it comes to GST compensation, central government is not that punctual. Finally, after the first 4 months, or I would say the first 4 months of this financial year, not this calendar year, I'm talking finance, that means April, May, June and July. So finally, compensation to states have been reimbursed to them. So they have received this money, and this money is going to be a breather for them, because As I told you, incoming is down, outgoing is up. So this money coming from central government is going to be a big help for for state governments. Now, states were guaranteed. I'm sure you will be aware about, but you should be aware about this thing as well. GST is not a new thing. It was introduced in our country back in 2017, 1st July 2017. So you should be aware about these facts. But then again, I'm thinking about new students. So let me throw some light on this basic thing, that when GST was introduced, or before that, it was guaranteed, or states were guaranteed compensation from center for the first 5 years. So how it works? Let's say before GST regime, if one state used to get 100 rupees every year from tax distribution, then this state will get 100 rupees, at least 100 rupees, the first year, starting from keeping this 2015-16 years collection as baseline. So let's say 2015-16, one particular state got 100 rupees. So after introduction of GST, it will get 100 rupees. Next year, it will get 114 rupees, right? So there will be a 14% growth every year, and this will be given till first 5 years, right? This was guaranteed by central government, but we find that money is not given to them on time. And if there is any shortage, let's say the state used to get 100 rupees, but the total collection of or the after distribution, it is found that a state that used to get 100 rupees will get only 90 rupees under GST. So the rest 10 rupees will be given by the central government, and this money will be given from this compensation cess, which is levied on luxury and sin goods. Now we find that compensation cess was last year, it was 70,000 crore rupees short. So 70,000 crore rupees is not a small amount. So this created huge amount of debate as well as problems, like how we are going to compensate the states in case if we have a situation where compensation cess is in minus, or it is not having adequate money. So this is at present elephant in the room, or this is the biggest problem at present when it comes to GST, that we don't have any clarification on what next. What if this situation happens, or in fact it has happened? So how we are going to sort it out? Officials are suggesting that the central government can take a loan, but they are suggesting that at least there should be punctuality when it comes to distributing money. You should give it at the right time. If you give them this money, or states, after a very long period of time, then they this sort of bad timing hurts them very badly. So let's see, let's wait and watch for let's hope that in next GST Council they will try to find some solution after for this problem. The cost of haste. Do no harm. Do no harm is a core principle of medical field, right? This whole medical field, like doctors and pharmacies and other things. So do no harm basically means that if you cannot help someone, then at least don't harm that person. Now, when it comes to this COVID-19, we know that when this drug companies, biomedical firms, governments, they are under huge pressure to find a solution, to find a way through which we can stop or control this COVID-19, and we can give a jab, or we can give a vaccine to our people so that they can be protected from this coronavirus. So this is number one priority, I believe, of the whole world at present, right? Everyone is after this thing. So they are under huge pressure. And this pressure has deviated so many governments, so many drug companies, so many biomedical firms, and so many regulators from following full procedure. Like, say, for example, in our country, early on, how it used to work is that if you have, let's say, if UK has conducted a test, a medicine is tested by UK, and if you want to launch that medicine in India, then India will also conduct a test, and after the same result, then India will give you green signal. But now India is saying that we need to avoid this repeating trials, right? Avoid repeating trials so that we can save time. So this thing has been bypassed. Then many times we find that phase 1 is important, phase 2 is important, phase 3 is important. Now in many places phase 1 and 2 are merged and there is no phase 3. So of course we can understand that we need to find one medicine for it, we need to find one drug or vaccine for it. It is very important, but we should not and we cannot compromise with proper rules and regulations, right? Or not rules and regulations, but proper procedures, right? Procedure is very important, because if you go through the history of medicine, then as well you will find that a vaccine will get better and better over time. The more you work on that thing, the more people will work on that thing, the better it will get. So haste does not aid science, right? Just speed is not enough, right? Right path is also that important. Moving on to next item, meeting China's intransigence with air power. The question is that why China is ready to, bet its image. Why China is behaving aggressively with India and for inhospitable terrain, right? We know that LAC or this Ladakh portion, the place where this issue is going on, it is not one of the most, fertile land. It is a very inhospitable terrain. But then as well, China is interested in it because the whole world knows this thing, that China is economically very powerful now than it used to be. But no one knows anything about China's military prowess. Having aircrafts, having big army, that does not mean that your army is experienced, right? Having a tiny army, but then as well if you have experienced army, then that is more lethal. It is said that Chinese equipment is suspect, or you cannot trust equipments. They are not that accurate, they are not that good quality. Military is inexperienced and Chinese soldiers is believed, generally speaking, a poor fighter. So then as well China is behaving this way because China wants to prove its military prowess. It wants to China is trying to roar that we are here, it is our age, you cannot beat us, we are powerful. This is a signal that China is trying to send out. On your screen you can see a map of Asia. Now earlier on, back in 2003, India's interest was limited to its neighborhood. Then after a few years you find that India's interest started expanding, and now India's interest is, I believe, everywhere. Same applies with China. China was interested in its neighborhood. Now China is interested, generally speaking, everywhere, particularly Indian Ocean and controlling India. So one thing that we have to keep in mind is that our army is more experienced, our navy is more experienced, our air force is much stronger as well as experienced when you compare it with China. Second thing, in any present day war, dominance in air is a prerequisite. If you want to win a war, if you want to create that weight, then you need to have proper air force. The problem with our country is not just in this field, it applies in various different fields. When it comes to education, when it comes to health, when it comes to defense, when it comes to security, when it comes to so many other things, we are always reactive. Rafale is not going to be a panacea, right? It took 30 years for us to develop Tejas aircraft. So this should be a matter of shame for us. Now, when things are at this stage, what we are doing is we are talking loud about Rafale delivery, that we are going to get it on time. Of course, it's a good news that we are going to get Rafale on time. But the thing is, what next? When are you going to change your reactiveness into proactiveness? See, in winter time, the problem that our soldiers are going to face is that China has developed good infrastructure around this portion, right here. So they can easily take their trucks and other things, their supplies, to border area. For India, it is going to be a big challenge because these things are going on and on for a very long period of time. So this is a big lesson for us, right? And I think if we change our whole attitude of our country's attitude and our people's attitude, rather than being reactive, if we become proactive, then we can achieve so many great things in our country is capable of achieving so many great things. Protecting artists and the art. It's very unfortunate that in our country we love art, right? Art is part of our life, but still when it comes to money, we have this habit that we don't pay that much to art. And this applies to our society, this applies to our universities, right? You will find that R&D for art is not, means hardly someone will find good scholarship for subjects that are associated with art, or else those money making subjects, they get the lion's share of funds. Anyway, as far as art and artists are concerned, we don't have proper data for about them. We don't know about their size or shape. We know one thing, that most of them, they work in informal sector. And there was this latest report conducted by British Council in association with FICCI and ArtX. The report name is Taking the Temperature. This report says that when it comes to creative sector, 88% of creative sector is MSME. Out of this 88%, 32% are facing a loss of roughly 50% of their annual income in the first quarter. 53% of the events and entertainment of management sector, so 90% of their events cancelled. 61% of organizations established between 4 and 10 years ago have stopped functioning. So this sector is struggling even in normal times. So you can imagine what will happen, or what they are going through in this COVID-19 phase. FICCI has suggested or recommended some things to Ministry of Culture, that first of all, the grants that are allotted for this artist, give it to them as quickly as possible. Provide them health coverage, and provide them some economical support, as well as provide them digital infrastructure, so that they can at least release their or publish their art, or whatever craft they have, they can do it online, or they can display it online, so that they can at least earn their bread and butter. Moving on to the next item, the South Asian migrant crisis. Very interesting article. I have one question for you. Can you give me the name of all the countries that are part of GCC, that is Gulf Cooperation Council? Now, we know that South Asian people, when I say South Asian, I'm talking about Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshi, Nepali people from Sri Lanka. Generally speaking, these people, you find them working in Gulf region or Gulf Cooperation Council countries. And they form some 15 million people. That means 1.5 crore people of South Asia are living in Gulf region. But they don't have any safety net. They don't have any social security protection, welfare mechanisms, or labor rights. So many of them, they are back from these places, and they are here empty-handed. Under Vande Bharat mission, Indian government has repatriated over 7.88 lakh NRIs from various different destinations. We have launched Swadesh. Swadesh is launched by central government, and Swadesh is for skilling, it's for skill mapping of citizens returning from abroad. Kerala government, they have launched Dream Kerala. And this one is, this Dream Kerala is to utilize the multifaceted resources of the migrants. Now, the biggest challenge for various different states as well as for our country is to rehabilitate, reintegrate, and resettle these migrant workers. We find that they don't get all the rights in countries like Oman and Saudi Arabia. These countries, they will support their native people, but they will never support these migrants. They will never give you citizenship, and they have this upper hand, and they have this still, I'm not saying all, but still you find a type of racism over there. But anyway, the thing is, Sri Lanka is the only country that has this proper adequate migrant or migration policy. Other nations like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, we don't have any proper migration policy, and we need to create one. Because if we are sending our people over there, then it is our responsibility that we protect them as well. We cannot let our people to suffer there. If you talk about women over there, you find that so many Indian women, they go there to work, and they are working as domestic helps, and many a times they are abused, sexually abused. Emotional abuse is nearly every day. If not every day, most of them, they suffer emotional abuse. They are not treated that properly. Their job is 24/7. It's like proper slavery that is still going on. But no one is talking about it. If you find same thing with Indians who are well-to-do, and if you find Indians who are living in, let's say, Western world like England, or you find them in USA or Canada or Norwegian country or Australia, if you find people misbehaving with Indians or not treating them properly, then you will find that Indian government will take a stand. But when it comes to poor people, so many of them are suffering, but we don't find any that big thing. We don't have even this adequate migration policy, so this indicates a lack of our interest. Again, one example of reactiveness and proactiveness. So think about it. With this, dear friends, these are a few important news items that I want you guys to go through. This is one picture that you will find in today's The Hindu newspaper. This is Rafale aircraft non-stop flying from France to UAE and from UAE to India. And this is, what do we say, they are refueling it in the air, right? So this is possible with Rafale and other fighter jets. So they are doing it so that it can cover maximum distance. And that's everything in today's discussion. I will see you soon with daily financial news analysis. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Jai Hind.